Across the vast and varied continent of North America, a remarkable seasonal migration takes place. It is not the monarch butterfly, nor the great herds of caribou, but a different species altogether, the tourist. This creature, often adorned in brightly colored plumage of synthetic fabrics and clutching complex navigational devices, embarks on epic journeys. They seek out specific, almost sacred locations whispered about in guidebooks and digital folklore. These pilgrimages are a rite of passage, a fundamental drive to witness the celebrated wonders of this land, from its towering concrete canyons to its hallowed historical grounds. But here, in these seemingly idyllic habitats, a fascinating ecological dynamic is at play. While the tourists flock in great numbers, another, more established species, the local, exhibits a remarkable avoidance behavior. They have adapted to their environment by developing an almost sixth sense for the tourists' migration routes, steering clear of these congested territories with a skill born of long experience. This is a tale of two distinct tribes coexisting in the same ecosystem, one drawn by a powerful, almost magnetic force to these specific sites, the other repelling from them as if by an opposing pole. Our expedition today, for Travel Wonders, will take us deep into the heart of these contested zones. We will observe the habitats that locals have, for the most part, abandoned to their migratory cousins. We shall examine the curious rituals, the expensive foraging habits, and the often surprising realities that await the unsuspecting traveler. Some of these discoveries may prove startling, challenging, long-held beliefs even for the most seasoned of wanderers. Prepare yourselves as we peel back the glossy veneer of the postcard to reveal the complex and often humorous truth that lies beneath. Join us as we navigate the treacherous terrain of America's most famous and perhaps most overrated destinations. We will witness the behaviors and survival strategies of both tourist and local, seeking to understand why these celebrated landmarks have become great continental divides. It is a journey into the very soul of modern travel, a study of expectation versus reality, and a guide to seeing this great land through the eyes of those who know it best. The migration is underway, and our observation begins now. Our first destination, Times Square, the luminous heart of Manhattan. Here, the air crackles with artificial energy from colossal screens. Tourists gather, mesmerized by the digital waterfalls. New Yorkers have evolved to navigate this territory, treating it as a perilous obstacle course. Costume characters offer photo opportunities for a price. Restaurants and shops cater to the transient clientele with inflated prices. Locals know better, finding quality sustenance elsewhere. The cycle continues, tourists flow in, locals retreat. It's a symbiosis where the square exists for the tourist and vice versa. We journey west to the sun-scorched basin of Los Angeles, a sprawling habitat famed for its most elusive and mythologized creation, the movie star. Here a sacred pathway has been laid, a terrestrial constellation of brass and terrazzo known as the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Migrating tourists flock to this 16-block stretch of pavement, embarking on a pilgrimage to trace the names of their idols. They travel with heads bowed, not in prayer, but in a slow, shuffling search, their cameras poised to capture a piece of the hallowed ground, a tangible connection to the ephemeral world of celebrity. But the reality of this environment is often a jarring contrast to the glittering fantasy. The promised glamour is frequently obscured by a layer of urban grit. The brass stars, symbols of celestial achievement, are trod upon by millions, their surfaces scuffed and dulled by the ceaseless river of feet. The surrounding ecosystem is a chaotic bazaar of storefronts, hawking cheap trinkets and costumed impersonators of varying quality, each vying for the attention and currency of the passing herds. The air, thick with exhaust fumes and the sizzle of street food, carries little of the magic promised in the brochures. The local Angelino, much like their New York counterpart, has adapted to avoid this particular hunting ground. They understand that the true creative spirit of their city resides elsewhere, in quiet studios, neighborhood theaters, and unassuming cafes far from this chaotic thoroughfare. To them, the Walk of Fame is a caricature, a theme park version of their industry that bears little resemblance to their daily lives. They might pass through it out of necessity, a shortcut from one place to another, but they do so with the detached air of one navigating a necessary inconvenience, their eyes fixed forward, not downward. And so, the tourists continue their slow, reverent procession, searching for starlight on a crowded pavement. They capture their photographs, purchase their miniature Oscar statuettes, and perhaps feel a momentary thrill of proximity to greatness. Yet, they are observing a relic. a monument to a version of Hollywood that exists more powerfully in the imagination than on this dusty stretch of Boulevard. The locals, meanwhile, are elsewhere, living and creating the very culture that these stars are meant to celebrate, leaving this peculiar ritual entirely to the pilgrims. Here, on the northernmost edge of the San Francisco Peninsula, we find Fisherman's Wharf, a coastal habitat teeming with tourists, drawn by the sea air. Observe their behavior. They move in slow-moving herds, captivated by colorful trinkets. Clam chowder in a bread bowl, they cry, a lure that few can resist. The locals have long since adapted, avoiding these congested shores. The tourist, however, remains blissfully unaware, caught in the current of the wharf, guarding their meals from the audacious gulls that patrol the skies. They see the inflated prices as a tourist tax. As the sun dips below the Golden Gate, the tourist herds begin to disperse, a testament to a day spent in the grip of this powerful, commercialized force of nature. We travel to the heart of Texas, to the Alamo. Pilgrims gather to gaze upon this shrine, a symbol of Texan courage. Expecting a vast fortress, they find a modest chapel. A curious phenomenon occurs, a collective recalibration. A vibrant commercial jungle has sprung up in its shadow. One can find Ripley's, a wax museum, and shops selling coonskin caps. For the native Texan, the Alamo's power is in the story it represents. The tourist navigates solemn history and garish entertainment. The legend looms larger than the limestone reality. Our journey now takes us to the humid climes of Louisiana, to a place of legendary revelry, Bourbon Street in New Orleans. As dusk falls, this narrow corridor transforms into a truly wild habitat. It is a nocturnal world, illuminated by the lurid glow of neon signs, each one a beacon for a particular kind of celebration. The air, thick with the scent of sugar, stale beer, and vague regret, vibrates with a cacophony of competing sounds. The blare of trumpets, the thumping bass of dance clubs, and the exuberant calls of the human flocks that surge through this urban canyon. This is a river of humanity, and like any river, it has its own unique currents and hazards. The ground underfoot is perpetually damp, a sticky morass of spilled drinks and mysterious fluids, a testament to the sheer volume of libations consumed here. The locals, a species known for their deep appreciation of music, food, and genuine conviviality, have long since learned to avoid these treacherous waters. They know that the soul of their city, its true, authentic rhythm, is found not in this chaotic torrent, but in the quieter, more intimate tributaries and backwaters of the French Quarter and beyond. Observe the behavior of the visiting tribes. They clutch enormous, brightly colored plastic cups, known locally as hand grenades or hurricanes, potent concoctions that fuel their journey through the night. Their movements are often erratic, a slow, shambling dance of navigation through the dense crowds. They are drawn to the balconies above, from which trinkets, colorful plastic beads, are thrown down to the eager masses below. This ritual, a simplified imitation of a much grander local tradition, is a powerful lure, a central part of the Bourbon Street experience for the uninitiated. The native New Orleanian, however, practices a different kind of ritual. They seek out the neighborhood jazz club, where melodies are spun with intricate passion, the quiet courtyard bar, where conversations can flourish, or the family-run restaurant, where recipes have been perfected over generations. They understand that the heart of their culture is not a commodity to be packaged and sold on a single sticky street. And so, as the nightly migration continues its noisy, chaotic procession down Bourbon, the locals are elsewhere, preserving the very soul that the tourists have unknowingly come all this way to find. Here, along the border between North and South Carolina, a curious phenomenon occurs. It begins with billboards, hundreds of them. They promise an oasis, a siren call to weary travelers on Interstate 95. This is south of the border, a complex dominated by Pedro, the sombrero-wearing mascot. The architecture is a neon-drenched fever dream of a stereotypical Mexico. Tourists are drawn in by the advertising. They wander through gift shops, wide-eyed with wonder and disbelief. The currency is novelty, a bizarre collection of trinkets. There's an air of antiquity here, a relic of a bygone era. South of the border remains an irresistible stop on their long journey south. Water, one of nature's most formidable forces. Here, on the border between two nations, it puts on its most spectacular display, Niagara Falls. The falls are shared, yet each side claims the superior vantage point. The American side offers an intimate experience, but amidst a jungle of commerce. The Canadian side observes the full spectacle. The tourist faces a choice: immediate action or complete understanding. For some, the true spectacle is not the water, but the river of tourists flowing towards it. In the northern territories of America, harsh winters drive life indoors. Here, humans have engineered the Mall of America, a colossal, climate-controlled ecosystem, a world of shops, roller coasters, and recreation. Thousands congregate daily, regardless of outside blizzards. There are over 500 species of shop here. Deep within lies a fully functional amusement park. Humans soar through the air, their calls of excitement echoing. For the tourist, it's a monument to human ingenuity and consumer culture. Here in the Pacific Northwest, a different life form has taken root. The Space Needle, a dominant feature of the Seattle skyline, built for the 1962 World's Fair. It draws tourists from every corner of the globe, compelled by an instinct to ascend to the highest vantage point. Visitors gather in long queues, waiting to reach the summit. Once at the apex, a full 360-degree panorama unfolds. The city, the shimmering waters of Puget Sound, the distant peak of Mount Rainier, a breathtaking sight. Here, tourists capture the moment. To locals, the Space Needle is a landmark to be appreciated from a distance. It is a spectacle for the visitors. We travel to the rugged coast of New England, to Plymouth Rock, the legendary point of disembarkation for the Pilgrims in 1620. A powerful mythos surrounds this stone, drawing tourists seeking a tangible connection to the genesis of a nation. The rock itself, weathered by tide and time, is far smaller than the legend suggests. The discrepancy between the story and the object can be a source of bewilderment. They read inscriptions, listen to park rangers, and take photos, preserving evidence of their pilgrimage. The true history is written across the landscape, in burial grounds, colonial houses, and maritime traditions. For locals, it's a famous rock providing a reliable, seasonal harvest of tourists. Our journey takes us into the American Southwest. This is the Four Corners Monument, where Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah converge. Drawn by the promise of being in four places at once, visitors come to participate in a peculiar ritual. They queue to claim the spot, contorting their bodies to place a limb in each state. The photograph is the ultimate prize. For the Navajo people, on whose land the monument resides, it's a vital economic hub. They observe the tourists, facilitating the experience while maintaining their connection to the land. Here in Memphis, Tennessee, we find Graceland. For decades, pilgrims have journeyed to pay homage to the king. The air hangs thick with southern heat and a palpable sense of reverence. It's a habitat preserved in time, where rituals of remembrance are performed daily. The locals exhibit avoidance behavior, common when a territory becomes saturated with tourists. The sheer saturation of Elvis iconography is a spectacle, designed to overwhelm the senses. Graceland maintains a delicate balance. Visitors arrive, view, and depart, contributing to the local economy. It's a remarkable example of symbiotic coexistence. We journey now into the heart of the Mojave Desert. Here, rising from the arid plains, is the Las Vegas Strip. It is an artificial canyon, carved by ambition and electricity. The Strip awakens in a riot of bioluminescence, a dazzling display designed to attract and mesmerize. This environment is governed by a constant, overwhelming sensory input. The sheer density of the human throng is staggering. For the local population, this glittering canyon is a hazardous territory. And so, the Las Vegas Strip remains a domain primarily for the visitor. It is a place of spectacle within this glittering man-made wilderness, thriving in the most unlikely of desert landscapes. Here, in the vast grasslands of South Dakota, a curious phenomenon occurs. Billboards begin to appear, territorial markings of a unique creature of commerce, Waldrug. Promising free ice water, it's a siren's call to the weary traveler, luring them towards a peculiar watering hole. Upon arrival, the traveler discovers a sprawling ecosystem of consumerism, a bazaar of the bizarre. Here, one can find everything from cowboy boots to animatronic dinosaurs. The promised free ice water is indeed present, but it is merely the bait. The native inhabitants observe this migration with a knowing sense of detachment. They understand that the true wonders of this land lie far from the noise of this strange man-made oasis. We travel to Philadelphia, a city steeped in the founding myths of a nation. Here, within a habitat of glass and steel, rests the Liberty Bell. A powerful symbol of freedom, it draws countless visitors each year. They come from across the globe, forming long, slow-moving queues. Inside, the atmosphere is one of hushed anticipation. Each individual jockeys for position to capture the perfect image of the famous fracture. And there it is, suspended in its glass sanctuary. For many, the encounter is fleeting. The climax is often a quick photograph. The pilgrimage is over. The local Philadelphian has a different relationship with this relic, often without a second glance. They understand the spirit of liberty is found in the vibrant, living city around it. Our journey across the vast and varied habitats of America has come to an end. We have observed the great seasonal migrations of tourists, watched them congregate at designated feeding grounds, and marveled at the elaborate displays and curious rituals designed to capture their attention and their resources. From the glittering canyons of Times Square to the fractured icon in Philadelphia, we have documented the peculiar ecosystems of the great American tourist trap. It is a world governed by its own unique and fascinating laws of survival, a spectacle of human behavior on a truly continental scale. But the world is, infinitely more complex and rewarding than these well-trodden paths might suggest. Beyond the billboards and the queues, away from the souvenir shops and the costumed characters, lies a different kind of territory. It is a world of quiet streets, of neighborhood cafes, of landscapes unspoiled by commercial spectacle. This is the world inhabited by the locals, the native species who have learned to thrive in their environment by understanding its hidden rhythms and its secret places. To truly understand a habitat, one must learn to see it through their eyes, to follow their trails. So, as you plan your own great migrations, we encourage you to look beyond the obvious. We implore you to become not just a visitor, but an observer, a student of your environment. Seek out the hidden gems, the places unmarked on the tourist map. Engage with the local populations, for they are the true guardians of their culture and the keepers of its most valuable secrets. Travel not just to see, but to understand. The most profound discoveries are rarely found where the crowds are thickest, but in the quiet moments of genuine connection. And so, our observation concludes. We do hope you found this particular expedition illuminating. If you'd be so kind as to engage the small, bell-shaped icon and perhaps the like button, it would be awfully decent of you. It helps our research immensely, you see. Now do be a good chap and subscribe for our next venture into the wild. Cheerio.